Yo, stop whatever you're doing right now, because if you bleed silver and blue and you have ever defended this team to every Eagles fan in your life, you cannot scroll past this video. What we're talking about today is a move out of Dallas that is sending real shockwaves through the entire NFL landscape. A signing that could completely reshape the Cowboys' secondary heading into the 2026 NFL season in a way that this fan base has been waiting for. So sit down, lock in, and pay attention because this one matters. Smash that like button, hit subscribe if you have not already, and tap that bell notification because whenever Cowboys news breaks, I am right here breaking it down for you with the detail and the passion that this team deserves. Now let's get into it. The Dallas Cowboys are signing cornerback Derion Kendrick in 2026 NFL free agency. Now I know some of you are going to say, who is this guy and why should I care? And I completely understand that reaction because Derion Kendrick is not a household name yet. He has not been on the cover of Madden. He has not stood on a Pro Bowl stage. But by the time I am done breaking this down today, you're going to understand exactly why the Cowboys front office went out and got him, why this signing makes complete football sense, and why this might honestly be one of the smartest and most important moves Dallas makes during this entire offseason. Trust me on this one and stay with me. But before we talk about Kendrick specifically, we need to have an honest Cowboys reality check because I think it is important context for everything that follows. If you've been a Cowboys fan for any real length of time, you already know the truth. This team has had serious documented struggles in the secondary over the past several seasons, and we have to be willing to look that in the face before we can appreciate what this signing means. How many times have you sat there watching a Cowboys game and seen a wide receiver run completely wide open through the secondary like there was absolutely nobody back there? How many times have you watched opposing quarterbacks stand in the pocket and pick apart the Dallas defense through the air with ease, hitting throws on third down that should never have been completions, moving the chains when the Cowboys needed to stop more than anything in the world? How many times have you been in the fourth quarter of a game that the Cowboys absolutely needed to win and watched the secondary give up chunk plays through the air that killed any momentum the offense had built? Too many times. Way too many times. And look, this is not about pointing fingers at any one individual, because football is a team sport and secondary performance depends on a lot of factors. The pass rush matters. The linebacker coverage matters. The scheme matters. But the cornerback position specifically has been a documented area of concern for this franchise for a while now, and everybody inside that building is aware of it. The coaching staff is aware of it. The front office is aware of it. The players are aware of it. And you are definitely aware of it. So when the Cowboys go out into free agency and directly target that position with the specific intention of adding competition and talent, that is significant. That is the organization looking the problem in the eye and refusing to ignore it. That is the front office saying we hear the concerns, we see the weakness, and we're doing something about it. That accountability and that willingness to act is exactly what this fan base needed to see, and the Derion Kendrick signing is the proof of it. So now let's talk about who Derion Kendrick actually is, because his story is genuinely one worth knowing and understanding. Kendrick first made his name at Clemson University, where he arrived as one of the most highly rated wide receiver recruits in the entire country coming out of high school. Let that sink in for a second. He was a top-rated wide receiver recruit nationally. Not a cornerback, a wide receiver. And the Clemson coaching staff, one of the most respected staffs in all of college football, looked at this kid and said his athleticism, his instincts, his feel for the game are too special to keep at one position. So they made the call to move him to cornerback. And I want you to really appreciate how difficult that decision is for a player to accept and execute. You arrive at a program like Clemson having played wide receiver your entire life, having been recruited as a wide receiver, having built your entire football identity around that position. And your coaches come to you and say we need you to completely reinvent yourself on the other side of the ball. Learn new techniques. Study the game from a completely different angle. Go from attacking the football to defending it. At one of the most competitive programs in the country, where every position is loaded with elite talent. Most players cannot make that jump. Most players would struggle with it mentally before they even got to the physical challenges. But Derion Kendrick embraced that challenge completely. He attacked the cornerback position with everything he had, developed his technique, studied the game from his new vantage point, and became a legitimate lockdown corner at Clemson, earning multiple All-ACC honors during his time with the Tigers. That transition alone tells you more about who Derion Kendrick is as a competitor and as a person than any highlight reel ever could. But then his story gets even better because he made the decision to transfer from Clemson to the University of Georgia for his final college season. Now transferring is always a gamble. You are leaving behind the familiarity of a program you know, coaches you trust, teammates you have built relationships with, and you're walking into a new environment and asking yourself to contribute immediately at the highest level. That takes confidence. That takes mental toughness. And it takes an absolute belief in your own ability that not every player possesses. Derion Kendrick had all of that. He went to Georgia, stepped into one of the best programs in the country, and helped lead the Bulldogs to a national championship in 2021. A national championship. This man has a college football championship ring. He has stood on the biggest stage in college football under the brightest lights with everything on the line, and he delivered. That is championship DNA, and that is not something you find on every free agent cornerback available in March. That experience of winning at the highest level under maximum pressure is something that is going to serve him and the Cowboys organization extremely well. After his college career, Kendrick was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams in the 6th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. And I know the 6th round does not exactly get your pulse racing, but stay with me here, because context is everything. He did not walk into some rebuilding project with low expectations and minimal competition. He walked into a Los Angeles Rams locker room that had just won the Super Bowl, a roster loaded with proven veterans, established starters, and players who knew exactly what it took to win at the highest level in professional football. The bar in that building was set at championship level from day one. And rather than being overwhelmed by that environment, rather than disappearing into the depth chart and collecting a paycheck, Kendrick competed. He pushed. He earned his spot. He developed. He showed that he belonged in the National Football League, and he did it in one of the most demanding environments a young player can be placed in. During his time in the league, he has developed a clear and well-earned reputation as a physical, aggressive press cornerback who loves to get into a wide receiver's face right at the line of scrimmage and completely disrupt the timing of the passing game before a route even has a chance to develop. He does not sit back. He does not give receivers free releases off the line. He gets up in their jersey from the snap and makes every single route a battle. And that is precisely the style of cornerback play that the Dallas Cowboys defense has been desperately calling out for. From a pure physical standpoint, the measurables are genuinely impressive, and they matter when evaluating a cornerback in today's NFL. Kendrick stands right around 6 feet tall, which gives him elite length for the position. That length means he can contest catches at the highest point, get his hands into throwing lanes that shorter corners simply cannot disrupt, and physically match up against the big-bodied boundary receivers that every team in the NFC East deploys. His foot speed and his hip fluidity are what really jump out when you study his tape closely. He has the ability to flip his hips and run with receivers on deep routes without losing ground or getting out of phase. In a league where wide receivers are faster and more creative with their route running than at any point in NFL history, a cornerback with that kind of closing speed and change of direction ability is an invaluable weapon. And then there are his ball skills, which are in a completely different category for a cornerback because of his background. This is a man who was trained as a wide receiver. He understands route timing from the inside. He knows how a receiver sets his feet before a catch. He knows the angles and the trajectories of throws because he spent years on the other side learning to catch them. When Kendrick gets his head around and locates the football in the air, he does not bat it away like most corners. He attacks it like a receiver going up for a catch. That instinct creates interceptions and forced incompletions at a rate that pure cornerbacks without that receiver background simply cannot replicate. He is also a willing and physical tackler in run support, which matters enormously in today's NFL, where cornerbacks are asked to be complete defenders and not just coverage specialists. Kendrick sets edges, comes up and makes open field tackles, and contributes on special teams. He is a complete football player, and that is exactly what Dallas needs. The divisional context of this signing is something I really want to emphasize because I think it is one of the most important angles here. The Dallas Cowboys play in the NFC East, and the NFC East is not a division where you can afford to have weaknesses in the secondary. The Philadelphia Eagles have constructed one of the most dangerous and complete offensive rosters in the entire NFL with weapons at every level of the field. The Washington Commanders are no longer a team anyone can overlook. They've been building their roster with purpose, and they have pass catchers on the outside that will challenge any cornerback in the league. The New York Giants are always looking to create problems through the air. Every single week, the Cowboys secondary is going to be asked to match up against elite talent. The NFC East puts your weaknesses on display in prime time, and it punishes you for them relentlessly. There is no hiding in this division. There is no soft stretch of the schedule where you can catch your breath. It is elite competition from week 1 through the end of the regular season. Derion Kendrick has the physical tools, the competitive fire, and the experience to step into that environment and hold his own. He is not going to be intimidated by lining up against the best receivers this division has to offer. He has competed against elite talent his entire career, and he has a championship to show for it. From a financial standpoint, this signing reflects the kind of disciplined and intelligent roster management that the Cowboys front office has been committed to this offseason. The salary cap is the great equalizer in the NFL, and every dollar you spend at one position is a dollar you cannot spend somewhere else. Signing Kendrick at a reasonable market value deal allows Dallas to address a significant area of need without compromising their flexibility to make other moves. You're getting a young, ascending player with real, untapped upside, with physical tools that have not yet been fully developed, at a cost that fits within the framework of where this team is financially. That is value. That is smart business. And it is the kind of move that championship-caliber front offices make consistently, while other organizations are chasing headlines with max contract signings that handcuff them for years. The competition that Kendrick brings to this cornerback room is something that simply cannot be overstated. When you add a hungry, motivated player who is determined to earn a starting job, you're not just improving the depth of your roster. You are changing the entire culture of competition within that position group. Every cornerback on the Dallas roster is now going to have to come to work every single day knowing that someone is pushing them, studying them, and ready to take their job if they give him the opening. That kind of environment produces better football players across the board. The players who are already starting play harder because their jobs are not guaranteed. The younger players on the roster push themselves to another level because they see the standard being raised around them. Competition is the greatest developmental tool available to any coaching staff, and by bringing in Derion Kendrick, the Cowboys have injected a serious dose of it directly into a position group that needed exactly that energy. The intangibles Kendrick brings to the locker room are just as important as anything he does on the field. This is a player who has faced adversity and overcome it at literally every level of his career. He switched positions at one of the most demanding programs in college football. He transferred to a new school under pressure and won a championship. He got drafted in the 6th round when many teams had already written him off. He competed for playing time on a Super Bowl roster. Every single time the world told Derion Kendrick that he was not good enough or that the odds were stacked against him, he responded by proving the world wrong. That kind of mental toughness and resilience is infectious in an NFL locker room. Young players look at a guy like that, and they understand what it actually takes to make it and stay in this league. Veterans respect the grind. Coaches trust the process. The entire culture of that secondary gets better when you add a player who carries himself the way Derion Kendrick does. Look, the Cowboys have had their struggles, and every real fan of this team knows exactly what those struggles have looked like and felt like. The playoff exits that hurt. The defensive breakdowns that cost wins in games that mattered. The moments where this team needed to stop and could not get it. All of that is real, and none of us are going to pretend otherwise. But this organization is moving forward with purpose. They're building this roster the right way, making smart, calculated decisions adding competition and talent at positions of need, and creating the foundation of a team that can compete when January football arrives. Derion Kendrick is one of those building blocks. He is the kind of player that championship rosters are made of. Not just the stars at the top, but the hungry, proven, competitive players in the middle of the depth chart who raise everyone around them and make the whole team better. Something is being built in Dallas, and this signing is part of it. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. Share this video with every Cowboys fan you know, and I'll be back soon with more coverage. Until then, stay blessed, keep believing, and, as always, go Cowboys.